are back with the beats of Kelly Kennedy from My Heart to Yours. And I have to share with you all that this is the highlight of my podcast, to be honest with you. This is the sole reason, if you will, for me wanting to get my podcast up and running and out there, because I want people to understand something that affected me and impacted my life like nothing has ever impacted my life before. And when I met this incredible gentleman that I'm so honored to have with us today and so excited for you all to be introduced to, Rasmus Gaupp-Bergenhausen. He has the highest technical degree in engineering in Austria. He has worked with Masaru for many years. And as a result of working with that, he discovered something, and I'm going to let him share a little bit of that story with you. But Rasmus has created something for all of us, which is now in 26 countries. And I'm completely honored to be the sole distributor of this in the United States. And Not Meds is here to make sure that everybody knows about Sound of Soul and its purpose and the healing of the heart and the healing of how our body really works. And without further ado, Rasmus Gaupp-Bergenhausen.
Yes, hello. Hello, Kelly. Nice to talk to you. Yeah, well, Sound of Soul is a technology which we have launched 2011. And as you said, we have it now in 26 countries, mainly in Europe, but we have also some in the States and in South America and in Asia. And well, it's a technology which translates your heart frequency into sound and color light. And well, my background is actually more engineering, it's water chemistry, it's agricultural science. So I come from a completely other area. Mm-hmm. And in 2004, I opened for Dr. Masaru Emoto a water laboratory in Europe. And Emoto was like a father to me. We traveled a lot around the world and gave lectures together. And yeah, well, and then it was like that when was that? Maybe 2008 or something like this. I went to Russia and I worked there a lot and I saw a lot of different technologies. But one thing what I didn't like that much was all these technologies on the market, that the technologies which we use normally, that they assume that you are the problem and that from outside you get corrected, whatever the technology does. And I thought that what do we really know about health and ourself and our body and all the self-regulation parts? And I tried to develop a technology which does not tell you what you need or what is wrong with you. It is just actually a mirror of yourself. So I take your heart. The assumption is that there is nothing better in the whole universe than your heart. And I just want to take the heart frequency and translate it into a frequency range which we all understand, because the heart frequency range which we measure, it derives from the heart rate variability from the autonomic nervous system, which is a very low frequency. It's between 0 and 0.4 hertz. It's a frequency, sorry, yes?
It's just, you're so, let's just slow it down a little bit for the average person and just talk about frequency. So when people go to the hospital and they get an EKG done, they're watching the frequencies. Beep, 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 beep. That's a good day. Beep, bad day. Beep, yeah. No frequencies. And so life is about having these frequencies, and heart rate variability is looking at that frequencies of the heart, the beats that are out being conducted from the heart, right? And correct me where I'm wrong, Rasmus.
Yes, sure.
And the measurement of those frequencies and the variability of that is the autonomic nervous system, that parasympathetic, sympathetic, rest, digest, fight, flight mode. And that's the regulatory capacities that he was just talking about. So how the body works within the regulation is about the autonomic nervous system, the frequencies of which it creates from the heartbeat. And I think we're caught up with understanding where you're at.
Yeah, well, it's like this. In the hospital, normally you have an ACG or AKG, how we say. And the AKG is a wonderful tool to measure which part of your heart doesn't work correctly. So it's a wonderful tool to show you on two-dimensional on the screen which part works good or not. But what it does not show somehow is the liveliness of the heart. Liveliness for me does not mean that there is just a beat. Liveliness, for me, the most beautiful explanation for life, for me, is change in movement.
Change in movement, yes.
Change means that there are, if you go to Emoto back, there are not two snowflakes in the universe which are the same. There are not two persons in the universe which are the same. There are not two leaves on a huge tree which are exactly the same. And we can go further and can see that you have not two heartbeats in your life which are exactly the same.
That is
And
so
this,
amazing. That's
yeah,
amazing. There's no two heartbeats in your entire life that are ever going to be the same. Sorry.
exactly.
Go ahead.
Exactly.
That's just amazing.
And this is, of course, it depends, of course, how accurate our technology is to measure it. And so far, we can measure maybe in milliseconds and nanoseconds, picoseconds, very, very accurate. But of course, we could say if we measure now your heartbeat from one to the next, we measure a time interval. And now this time interval from the first to the second is different than from the second to the third heartbeat, and the third to the fourth, and so on. This is called heart rate variability. It's quite well known already. There is a lot of research going on in the United States. There's an institute called HeartMath Institute doing wonderful work about heart rate variability. In Russia, there has been a lot of work about heart rate variability the last 60 years, 70 years. We know from old China that about almost 2000 years, doctors already knew about the variability of the heartbeat. Of course, I can say, well, if I measure one heartbeat and let's say it's 756 milliseconds, maybe 5 hours later, you have the same heartbeat with the same time interval. But this is quite inaccurate. If we would go more and more and more in the detail from milliseconds to microseconds and so on, you will find out that there is not one heartbeat which is exactly the same. And why is it like this? Because our heart, I would say our heart, we know the heart has the biggest electromagnetic frequency range of all our organs, which we can detect it more than 6 meters in our surrounding, which means that your heart interacts with all what is happening around you. It interacts with the person sitting next to you. It interacts with the plants around you. It interacts with all the magnetic field. It interacts with probably with everything around you. And from all the organs we have, the heart, I'd say, or yeah, I don't say it is like this, the heart is the best connecting organ to the surrounding. So the heart is our connector. My heart and your heart, even if there are, I don't know, 6,000 miles between us, sitting on the other side of this world, the heart are connecting people. That's just how it is. And it's not just an esoteric, let's say, blah, like we are all connected with. For me, it's pure physics. It's like if you have a pendulum watch and you have another pendulum watch, like, you know, the Swiss watch where the cuckoo comes out. Okay, maybe you know this in the States too. So you have down below the cuckoo watch, you have this pendulum going left and right and left and right. And if you have two of these watches in your room, we can see a phenomena which is called entrainment, which means that one pendulum and the other pendulum, they start to interact. And this is called entrainment in physics. And now we can say the biggest pendulum we have in our body. We have, of course, our cells and the kidneys and the liver and all organs, even every little cell has its own vibration. It's just, you can say it's dancing. And the organ itself has also its own vibration. And from all the organs, the heart, we know that the electromagnetic field of the heart is about 2,000 times stronger than the field of your brain, which means the brain, my brain and your brain, it's much more difficult that these two organs connect than the heart. And this is just, and that's why we focus on the heart. And we think that the heart is not just a stupid organ pumping 5 till 10,000 liters of blood a day around your body. For us, the heart is actually the source of life, and not the source. It's the source of, we could call it, of the ongoing healing process. Because every breath we take, everything we digest, we always have to, to build up and to regenerate all the cells and all these kinds of parts. And we need kind of not a composer, it's a conductor in English.
Conductor.
A conductor of the whole system. And we think it's the heart. So the Sound of Soul system we have now in so many countries and in so many different areas where people are working with it. It's a system which does not try to correct you. It tries to mirror your frequency of your heart into another frequency range, and that's the sound and the color light. And that's how the Sound of Soul, how it works. So that's how it is. Yes.
So essentially, as far as how it works, we hook the client up, or the musician, which is the person doing making the music. We hook them up with 3 electrodes, and then they listen to their heartbeat converted into light and music. So the same frequency of their heartbeat is just kind of linked in with different music, and you have different selections from harps to harps to piccolo to ocean sounds to rain to drumming, and then there's all this science behind it to look at how well that person is doing. But essentially that mirror, I would agree that the lack of connection that people have to that, I'm honestly concerned for our world at large with our current pandemic that we find ourselves in, where everybody's been told to socially distance themselves, and that means physically distant as well. And from my studies with you and others, rats, if you isolate them, they die fast because we are all connected. And when we isolate ourselves, that's horrendous for the heart. Can you speak to that for just a moment? I know it's a little trajectory, but.
Well, the thing is, we call the system Sound of Soul. And soul, what is the soul? For me, no matter what you believe, if you're a Buddhist or a Christian or a Muslim, or you believe in nothing whatsoever, we can say one thing is we are alive. And life is something that, as I said, for me, the most beautiful description of liveliness is change in movement. So this means that we are always new. Now the thing is that we are connected not only to each other, we are connected to Mother Nature, to all our surrounding. And for me, the thing is that the more we are connected to our surrounding, let's call it Mother Nature, or to our family, or whoever, to everybody, the better, the more healthy we are, the better we can regenerate. Now there's a very interesting observation we make, is the moment you start to think, your heartbeat becomes more regular. Which means, for me, the interesting thing is what disconnects both of us. That's our brain, that's our thought. I always explain it like this. If you're dancing with your partner and you're dancing, you have a nice time, and you think, where is my next step? Or when is my next step? And how is my next step? Then the whole entrainment, the coherence, the resonance goes. Or if you clap to a nice song, my little daughter with 7 years can clap as good as maybe a music professor. We all clap to a song. But when you think, when is my next clap? Then you're out of the group. So this implies that the brain has is a wonderful, let's say, achievement we have, that we can think and materialize and build the most amazing things. But the brain has also disadvantages. And one disadvantage of the brain is that the more we focus in our brain, the more we disconnect to each other, the more we disconnect to the healing power of our surrounding. So let's say like this. So if you're always worried now with all this strange things we experience these days with this virus, the more we are afraid, the more we harm ourselves. And of course, now all this mask and all this nonsense, we will know, in more and more scientists show that these masks do more harm than good. When we are always afraid, actually we can only resonance with this fear. And we see when people start to listen to themselves, to their own heartbeat, there's a very nice expression in German. Ending something means aufhören, and listening to something means also aufhören. So the moment you listen, you also end. So if you put all your attention in the room you're sitting now, and you listen to maybe the wind outside or the noise of the refrigerator or whatever, and you put all your attention on your sense of listening, your brain immediately is quiet. And the thing is, what we try is that the moment the person, and our assumption is, of course, that there's nothing in the whole universe better than yourself. That's the main. So normally medicine.
That's the premise, right? The premise is that your heartbeat is the best thing you have, and that everybody's good on the inside.
Exactly. So this is what we see is, nobody will ever cure you. You always cure yourself. No matter if you have the best shaman and the best remedy and the best, doctors,
supplements and
supplements,
doctors and IVs and
everything.
yep.
At the end, it's your body who has to heal yourself. And we have also to see that no matter how amazing medicine is today, what we can do is amazing, transplantation and all kinds of amazing stuff. Amazing, you can say, hard workers doing all kinds of stuff. But the healing process on cellular level, we always have to do by ourselves. And now the funniest thing is our body makes every second up to 40, 50 million body cells. Every second, you just made it right now. So there is intelligence behind us, which we can hardly comprehend.
Yeah.
And we know the moment you are afraid, the pH, so my specialty during university was always the pH of water and soil and everywhere, but also in our body, the pH in our body drops when we are afraid. So you get sour, you get acid.
Acidic.
Acidic, exactly. And the more we are afraid, the more the diseases actually can thrive. And we see that the moment you let go and you go to a deep state of relaxation, and we see the best thing is to take your own frequency. Because even if you connect a sick old person, let's say, and we could say, well, the frequency of this sick old person is maybe bad. Let's take this from this nice young lady or this handsome guy, whatever. No, it's not like this. Every heart tries to heal its host with every heartbeat. That's the interesting thing. And now when we convert the heart frequency of, let's say, a sick person, and the person gets into a relaxed state, you can get deeply touched by listening to the heart of this person, because he has to heal himself. And there is no frequency better in the whole universe than his frequency. Because if you see all these fancy machines on the market, they say you need the Schumann frequency and you need the sun frequency of the sun. And then they make just an average frequency. So they take, let's take this Schumann frequency of 7.6, whatever hertz. There is not one frequency in the universe. That's completely nonsense. The Schumann frequency is a range.
A range, right.
Your heart, we know from your heart rate variability, if you have always the same frequency of your heart, you get a heart attack. So we know the heart has to be variable.
No rigidity. You want flexibility, not rigidity. Because the more rigid something is, the easier it is to fall. The more flexible it is, the harder it is to knock down.
Let's compare it with agriculture. If we take a forest, a pine forest, where it's like a monoculture. We say monoculture, maybe you say it's
single culture. Yeah.
Where every tree is the same. In the rainforest, you have big trees and small trees and all different diversity, and it's a healthy forest. If you go to a forest where all the trees are exactly the same, just one kind of trees, then it's a very unhealthy forest, and just one bug can kill the whole forest,
Ooh, what you just said was amazing. Oh, and just one bug could take down the whole forest. Think about what's going on right now and how rigid people are and how...
Yeah, exactly. And this is always your heart. So we know today we have 23,000 studies related to heart rate variability. So there are a lot of studies on the market. And we know the more variable your heartbeat, the better. That's just a fact. So the more rigid your heartbeat, which means the more similar one heartbeat to the next, the worse for the person. So of course, I can recommend to everybody who listening to this podcast, start Google, start going into the internet and make a research about heart rate variability. Because that's I think, the best way to check how good your body is able to react on stress and how good your body is able to, to regenerate again, whatever symptom you have, whatever disease we have. And now this variability, we can see when we take the frequency of a person and we translate it into sound, the variability increases amazingly. We just had a lady here, just 2 days ago, she had heavily heart rhythm disorder. And heart rhythm disorder is going to be a pandemic. What's called
pandemic, yeah.
Because this COVID is not a pandemic. We have to be honest, it's a flu. And of course, in flu, every year, thousands of people die, and we have to take it serious. And maybe it's a serious flu. We call it China flu now here. We don't do it because, come on. And of course, we have to protect the people who are weak. But we have, first of all, to see that we don't get weak. I mean, you can be 80 years old and you have a huge variability, can be strong, and you can say whatsoever. You can be 30 years old, have diabetes, 3 heart attacks, and just be afraid of the next flu. To protect a healthy person from a flu is completely nonsense, because you have to build up an immune system. I mean, this is complete. The most healthy people are the people who, I mean, even washing the hands 20 times a day is unhealthy, because you need the bacteria to, of course, when you go to the bathroom, wash your hands, please. But I mean, all the day, it's just a joke. But what I want to say is that the variability, the higher the variability, the better for you. And what about the heart rhythm disorder we have been talking about? Mm-hmm. The heart rhythm disorder, we know in Germany, the last year, it has been increased by, the number I think was 16%. It was very high. I have to see the study again. And so the heart rate variability, the heart rhythm disorder, that's a pandemic.
Yeah.
And it's going to be bigger and bigger, especially when we have all this wireless, now 5G is coming. And the thing is that we have to take care in our life to have a huge variability in our heartbeat. And with fear, with all this wireless radiations we are exposed to, the variability decreases.
And going outside in nature and spending time with loved ones, and all of that increases your variability, right? And that's connection, right? And that's what your machine, your technology rather, really amplifies, is that when we connect, and then you have all the science behind it, you have all the heart math that he talked about, all the heart rate variability, you can learn that and understand how the readings indicate there's a huge influence into the healing capacities of the body, documented when people do this work. We've been using it in our center for 1.5 years, and it's absolutely mind-blowing, from the autistic kid that says, oh my gosh, I feel more like myself, verbal, but autistic child, but says, I feel more like myself than ever, to the high stress anxiety mom that was dealing with her husband that had cancer a year before, and now is a single family mom. Oh my gosh, I haven't felt this relaxed in years, to, you know, the person that lost their loved one, that doesn't have any way to connect with anybody, that it feels like they're in harmony for the first time in years. And these are the things that people have said. And we're not trying to fix them, as you said. We're not trying to do anything to them. We just want to show them where they're at and help them get a little higher up on their variability.
Exactly. Well, the thing, I think there's like the work we do, I think, has two main, you can say, focus or emphasis. One thing is to reflect the person live in sound and color, and to show the moment I experience myself, my frequency, in a frequency range I understand, which is sound and color light, I can see that the variation increases and increases ongoing. But the other thing is also that the patient also has to learn one thing. The person can see, the more the person connected to when the person is connected to Sound of Soul, and the more the person is in his head, the more the variability decreases. And they can see that the fear actually is the biggest obstacle. And to go down to your senses, to go down and experience yourself, you can see how the healing process literally is starting. So we see that for me, let's say like this, if you are sick, we think normally that the cure of the disease is a linear process. So it's going like from here you're sick, and step by step you get healthy again. I think curing is an exponential function, which means you're sick and you feel bad, and suddenly it goes very fast, it gets better. You can experience you can observe it by yourself. For example, when you have now, let's say, a flu, you see over several days, you feel bad, everything hurts. And then in a very short time, it gets better and better and better. So the thing is that I think that the body somehow is stuck in the pattern of the disease. And it takes a long time to get rid of the pattern. But the moment you let go, the curing process can be speeded up very, very fast. And this is when you let go, when you start to get in resonance with the surrounding of your place you are. And we see because Sound of Soul is a technology which connect the heart, like in AKG, just we take the heart rate variability, we convert it into sound and light. But now we can connect two people. So I can connect a mother with a child, or a couple or whatever, a practitioner with the patient, and we can literally listen how the two hearts become coherent. That's for me a real form of coherence, because there is so much. What is coherent? Okay, let's a little bit talk about this different word.
Please.
We have a vibration, whatever vibration, and we have a second vibration. And if two vibrations meet, they start to interact. And when they communicate, which means when you dance with your husband and you dance you get in a resonance. And so, and coherence actually is, let's explain it differently. When you see a nice guy on the other side of the street or a nice lady, first of all, you need a resonance, so that her frequency and my frequency, that we start to communicate. We start to be aware of each other. Okay. And now when the moment the two vibrations start to, let's say, dance together, they get into a form of resonance, which means that when you dance with your partner and you don't step all the time on his legs or his feet, you are in resonance. And now the thing is, the interesting thing is, when you connect two people, the two persons, the two hearts start to interact. They realize each other. Like you see the other nice guy, or these two hearts, they meet, they react on each other, and then they get coherent. And when they get coherent, the interesting thing is that they both nurture each other. And we normally think that if I would connect myself now with a very sick person, he would maybe drag me down and I would feel bad and all kinds of stuff. The interesting thing is, in vibrational terms, vibration orientates itself always in the higher order. So if you see a nice flower and a completely destroyed flower or plant, which you resonate with, where you want to go to.
Right.
And you don't think, I choose to go to this nice flower.
Right.
You don't do that. You just go to this, what attracts you. That's a law of attraction. It's just how it is. And that's, vibration is like this. And I always explain it like this. So if you connect a sick person with a healthy person, they both become better. That's the amazing thing, because that's how vibration works. And I explain it in a very simple way. I explain it almost like a dance teacher. If you're a dance teacher, the healthy person, let's call him the dance teacher. And the sick person is this dance student. If you teach now a dance student how to dance, and he's a very bad dancer and you're a great dancer, would you become worse as a dancer? No, you would become better. You would even become much better, because he challenges you. There's a nice saying in Chinese, I think it's in Chinese, if you want to know something, you have to teach it. So the thing, if you want to help somebody, I think, or heal somebody, the healing goes vice versa. So they both become better. But if you see most doctors in our societies, practitioners, they are so unhealthy. They are so, of course, the whole surrounding in the hospital today is really a hard job, and it's very bad. But it's also the way people see diseases. If you see a cancer patient and if you say, instead of, oh, I'm so sorry about it and whatever, and it's a pity that you have this disease, if you embrace them and say, congratulate you, you are in the healing process. Your wonderful body tries with all its means to heal you. And this cancer you got, embrace it. It's not your enemy. It is just in the healing process. Maybe you did a lot of things wrong in the past, but your body tries, and that's what we don't understand, the body tries to heal ourselves with every step, with every heartbeat. And of course, we have to do something if you have a heavy disease. But the problem is, the moment you, for example, get diagnosed cancer, diabetes, or whatever, people get so afraid. And the moment you get afraid, the fear is the little brother of thinking. So if you won't think, you won't be afraid. So fear is a special way of thinking. And when you're afraid, the variability decreases even much more. And this fear impedes or makes it impossible that you vibrate with the surrounding. Because the fear is in the brain. Of course, if you would not have the ability to think, you would not be afraid. Maybe you would have
you would just avoid anything that made you feel that way. You would go and gravitate towards the things that make you feel good, because that's what instinct is, correct? Instinct comes from the heart, and it's following that instinct and not coming from here. Expectations, right? That's thinking about what's going to happen in the future. And I remember when I sat with you initially to feel what the heart rate variability did, and I didn't have any expectation of it, but I had asked you one simple question. I said, what do I do? Because I am a good student and I like to do things right. And I said, what do I do? And you said, nothing, just listen to the music. And I was like, okay, I can do that. And I just listened to my music and had such a visceral response in my body of joy and happiness and connection. And it truly changed me. And I don't want anybody else to have that expectation. That is not expectations ruin things. And for me, I didn't expect anything. I just wanted to feel it, but the healing was inside me the whole time. Like you said, that was something I wanted to feel and I'd been seeking. And I feel like you're the one that gave it to me through your technology, but it was in me. It was just a way to access that.
Absolutely. Well, the thing is, I think I like the game of the words with intention and attention. Intention and attention. Intention literally means to be in attention, to be in attention. Like a stick is, if you bend a stick or a pen, there's tension.
Oh, so tension, to be in tension. Oh, gotcha. To be in a tense situation, intense. Gotcha.
Exactly. So now if your child is sick, or you are sick by yourself, or you have a patient who is sick, you have the intention to heal this person. Of course, you can write intention like a string is intention with T and with S. Yep. But the thing is, you have the intention to heal the person. And now, or you have to have the intention to help yourself, whatever. And now the thing is, the intention is already a judgment. The person is sick and you want to help. And that's, of course, that's how it is. But now, or if you have a sick child, you try to help the child. But now you find the remedy, and now you find whatever treatment. Now you have to leave the part of intention and go to a place of attention, of anti-tension, to be out of tension.
To be out of tension.
Anti-tension. Attention means for me literally out of tension, anti-tension. So now the thing is like this. When you have the remedy, you take whatever, if it's homeopathics or antibiotics or chemotherapy, whatever you decide to take, it should work on your body. But if you're very tense, it cannot do as it's supposed to do. So the moment you let go, you can get in resonance with your surrounding. You can get in resonance with the remedies you get, whatever it is. It's no matter. It does not have to be alternative. It can be an aspirin or whatever you take, or antibiotics. And we know today is a big problem with all these antibiotics, other topics. But the thing is that the moment you let go, the healing can take place, or the remedy can work. And the problem is that our brain cannot let go. If I tell you, please, this game, don't think of a yellow elephant.
Right.
We will all think of the yellow elephant. So if you think now, there's the cancer, there I have the problem, there is the disease, there is this diagnosis, then you literally materialize it more and more and more, and you cannot let go. But if you say, well, I have it, we embrace it, okay, let's do, of course, take a good, change our nutrition, do a lot of things, but we have to leave our focus of the brain. And we have to go like a child dancing on the, let's say, on a field with flowers. We have to get in resonance with the liveliness of our surrounding again. And we see when we connect a person, and the person can hear his or her own heartbeat in sound and color light, and they can experience that they are alive. As long as there is a heart beating, we can do something. The lady we just met 3 days ago, she had very, very strong heart rhythm disorder. And after 20 minutes, all the heart rhythm was gone. It was simply gone. And the doctor who came with her said, where's the heart rhythm disorder? I said, I don't know. What did you do? I said, I don't know. I didn't do anything. She did it by herself. She has to let go and experience how wonderful and alive she is. And the disorder was just gone. But I didn't tell them, well, after 20 minutes, it will go, because then I will sit and wait and have my expectation. I will say with our technology, we don't cure anything. We don't heal anything. We just reflect the liveliness of the person. And we can see that the person, when they experience themselves and hear and encounter their own beauty and color and sound, that they become better and better. But we say we don't know how it works. You can come because of a depression, but maybe your headache goes, or maybe your relationship with your partner gets better, or maybe the remedy you take because of something completely other thing becomes better. And that's how it works.
And Sound the Soul isn't for practitioners only. I want everybody to be aware of that. Everybody who has a life, everybody who has a heartbeat can conduct and work either side of heart rate variability, of Sound of Soul. I mean, yeah, it takes a little training, a little computer technology, a little understanding. But as Rasmus so eloquently put, go and do your own research about heart rate variability. Understand it. When you understand it, it's the world to work in so that you can help your own body heal. And if you're interested in Sound the Soul, there are a few practitioners in the North American continent that have it, and that's fast and furiously changing. And this is one of the reasons I want to bring Rasmus on today, because I want people to understand. And now you can see, I don't know any of you who've known me to be so silent for so long, but when this man speaks, I am silent because I learned so much from him, and he makes it so simple. You know, life is not that complicated. It's really not. I mean, it's a complex unit of amazing innate intelligence, as you also eloquently put, well beyond our capacity to truly understand. We cannot really understand how the innate intelligence works. However, when we work with our bodies and we allow it to happen, we look like we're making magic, but it's really just simply happening because it wants to heal. It wants to survive. That's its mechanism, is to survive. And if it's connected, it will survive. If it's not connected, it goes, I can't survive. It's really that simple. And could you speak to just a moment, and Rasmus, that was an amazing explanation. I was going to try to cut this short. I'm not cutting this short. That there's nothing out of that I could cut out, because every piece of that was so beautiful, and understanding of the resonance of the physics of it all, that vibration can't be changed, and it's always going to go to the highest level. It's always going to try to climb the ladder. That's just the way physics works, and you can't break the laws of physics.
Yeah, well, the thing is, when my background, as I told you, I was first water chemistry and agricultural science, and then I opened the laboratory of Emoto. I wanted to prove him wrong in the beginning because I thought, what a nonsense.
I love that. I love that he wanted to prove Emoto wrong.
From a scientific point of view, if you pray to water, you can say, what a nonsense. But he invited me to Japan, and I tried to prove him wrong in the laboratory, and I made all kinds of testing, and it didn't work what he said. So he claims that if you put a nice word on water, you get a nice water crystal. And I got sometimes nice crystals, sometimes it didn't work, and I thought, well, Emoto, this is hoax. But somehow today I can say he's completely right, but many things he could not explain because he was not a scientist. But one thing is, we can agree all upon that beauty is a quality. Let's just say like this. If you see a nice person smiling, a beautiful flower, you would say, this is beautiful. That's something nice. Okay. So the crystals show a kind of quality. They show a harmonic structure. I did all kinds of testing, and I said, Emoto, I cannot verify this, what you say, because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. The person who makes the testing, sometimes he makes great pictures, sometimes not. So it was very confusing. But then Emoto gave me a hint, and he said, well, try it with sound. Just try it with sound. Take sound, apply it to water. And I applied different kinds, Mozart, Beethoven, Bach, and all these different composers. And I got amazing crystals. And I could repeat this. And I thought, holy moly, what is happening? So there's something behind Emoto. Because if you take your water and say, oh, Om Shanti Shanti, or I love you, or all kinds of stuff, sometimes it works, or sometimes it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a fundamentalist and you kill many other peoples and you think you do it in the name of God, whatever your belief is, you think maybe it's good what you do, but all the other people would say it's not so good.
Mm-hmm.
So who's right? I would say the people who get harmed, of course, are right. So at least, where does good and bad start? So that's very difficult. But I can see that your beautiful smile or a beautiful flower, that's something good. Let's state like this. And if I get a water structure on the microscope and I see a beautiful picture, it completely touches me. So there is a truth behind beauty, let's say like this. And I wanted to see where can I grab Emoto's work and where, let's keep this for esoterics. But I can say beautiful structure is equality. And now if I apply sound to water, I get beautiful crystals. And this I can repeat. And now we have to see what is the strength of sound. Sound is a frequency you cannot escape. So if you have a smoke detector in your room and it starts to ring or shout or however you call it in English, you would not sit there and say, oh, this is a nice sound, let's listen to the smoke detector. You would just run out of your house because the sound is annoying, it's terrible. But it has its purpose, because if your house starts to burn, you should move, no? So it has its purpose. So if the smoke detector would sound like Mozart or whatever nice sound, you would say, oh, that's beautiful, let's stay in bed and listen to this nice sound. That's not the purpose. So now we can see a sound, you cannot escape sound. So if you hear now from Strauss the waltz, you will start to move in the same rhythm. So when you're exposed to a vibration, you have just 3 possibilities. Move with it, leave it, or change it, which means turn the smoke detector off. Eckhart Tolle, very nice guy, maybe you know him, he lives in the States now.
Eckhart Tolle, he said.
Eckhart Tolle, yeah. He says in a situation you have 3 possibilities. Change it, leave it, or accept it. And that's just the same in frequency. So if you're exposed to whatever sound, either you move to it, you turn it off, or you leave it. You cannot say, I don't care about the sound, because you always try to get in resonance with it, get coherent with it. The problem is, if you're exposed to a vibration which is bad, it harms you. And a bad vibration is if it's always the same. If this vibration of your smoke detector is always the same, it's a sinus sound. And it's terrible. If you take a nice violin, it's always changing. It's beautiful. So, okay, back to Emoto. So if I take now a frequency and apply this to water, let's say 5G, 4G, mobile phone, all this, it's always the same frequency. It's a pulse frequency. And the pulse frequency actually is death. The pulse, because it's always the same. If you have a pine forest and all the trees are the same, the forest will die. It's nonsense, because the same doesn't exist in nature. It always wants the diversity. You are not twice. There are not 2 Chinese people, even if they're 1.4 billion, which are the same. Of course, we are always different. And your heart is always different. This is liveliness. Okay, so now if I apply sound to the water, I get beautiful crystals. And now, not too much, at least I had the problem that when people meditate, pray to the water, I could, in many, many cases, I could not make water crystals. And I didn't understand it. And I didn't want to say, well, you're not as enlightened as the other one. You're maybe too stupid to make a nice crystal. I saw, if a little child plays with water, I get beautiful crystals. And if a spiritual, egoteric guy says, Om Shanti Shanti, water is going to change, nothing happens. Because they have a judgment. I'm good, the water is bad, and I want to change it. Now the interesting thing, and it doesn't work. The interesting thing is, if I take your heart frequency, and no matter if you're the worst person in the States or the most beautiful person in the States, I will always get a beautiful water crystal. Because the heart, as esoteric as it sounds, the heart always tries its best. The heart always tries to get in resonant with the surrounding. Even the worst dictator has a beautiful heart. He's just completely insane, 40 centimeters above. But the heart is nice because it tries to keep him alive. The heart is the connector of the surrounding. And we think, if you are touched, no matter if you're Chinese, from Africa, from, I don't know, India, if you're touched, you touch your heart. Everybody does.
Right.
You do it. And if you see your high telephone bill, where do you touch yourself? You go to the brain and say, holy moly, what happened to this bill? So that's completely different. And both has, of course, its meaning. But the thing is, the heart is not a stupid pump. The heart in every language is the sound, the source of the soul, is the connector to the people or whatever. And we tried to translate the brain frequency into sound, and we could not make any effect. This was not any, it's bad, it's not right. It's very limited.
No significant effect.
Not significant, nothing
right.
That we said, let's keep on working with this. But if we take the heart frequency, and we can take the heart frequency of a dog and the heart frequency of the owner. And we connect these two people, these two living beings.
These two
Sorry,
entities.
bad English. Yes, these two wonderful beings, they start to get incoherent, get in resonance, and they start to interact. And that's the beauty. And the dog doesn't understand what we do. If we connect a coma patient, we see a coma patient, they don't understand anything I say. They're in wake coma, let's say. They react right away on this. And that's the amazing thing. So you react on sound. And then Emotum, I'm very grateful to Emotum. Emoto called Sound of Soul the SOS system. I called it Sound of Soul, but he called it the SOS, SOS, emergency.
I feel just with Emoto, I have to say, on this one, I'm with him. SOS people, we need this. The hearts where people aren't connected. They don't understand their intuition. They don't know how their body works. And it's SOS. It's time. And if coronavirus didn't teach us anything, it taught us SOS. And it's honestly why I'm so excited to be able to share this information with everybody, because now is the time for people to understand how to open their hearts and how to connect with themselves and find out what's really important. It's not about consumerism. It's not about how many 5G Wi-Fi's and how fast my phone goes. And it's not about any of that. It's about, can I look at myself every day and know that I did the best thing that I can possibly do for the people that I'm around that I want to love, and the best thing for myself.
Absolutely. I think now this Corona story we have at the moment, I think, of course, it's amazing what happens. I think it's not as dangerous as all the people say. But one thing is, I think it's a big chance, because to get healthy and stay healthy, you need very, very little. For me, the most important things are to be physical active, but not stressed, not run like the first one. The second thing is, for me, the breathing. I give a lot of lectures about breathing, a lot of kinds of things. And the next thing is to understand the brain, because the brain is a wonderful tool to make the most amazing computers and machines and whatever. But the brain is also has big limitations. The brain literally brings me out of the current moment, of the now, of being able to resonance, to be able to let go and to heal. And this is what we do. The three things. So a lot of exercises. I do a lot of this, like, Wim Hof with the cold shower. I do this all year round. Go into the ice, make my bath, make this breathing, different kinds, Buteyko breathing, Wim Hof breathing. Learn about breathing. If you learn about breathing, you can change so much. Because breath,
in the spaces between the heartbeat is what?
Yeah, that's exactly. Every breath you take, you influence your heartbeat. But if you breathe wrong, I call it like your breathing does not interfere with the heartbeat. But if you breathe right, every breath, the heart interacts. And breathing exercises, and then the deep relaxation, and this we do with Sound of Soul, emphasizing your own frequency into sound and light. And then I see, because you asked me what do I do for my health at the moment, I say I do hardly anything anymore. Before I was vegan, I was trying all supplements, I did all kinds of stuff, and it was very interesting. At the moment, I say I'm not a vegetarian anymore. I call myself a flexitarian, the expression. I eat that what makes me happy. But I say, take your own
active. He's physically active. You're very physically active. Every time I talk to you, you're doing some new activity, whether it's building a house from scratch or building a dish on the house, or I'm going to go swimming, or I just took my dog for a long walk, or I was playing with the kids all day. Like, you're so active. Exactly. It's hard to get him on the phone and inside a building.
Yeah, but it's so simple in many ways.
It is.
We have to go back to simplicity, because of course we have this amazing medicine, but I think to get healthy and to stay healthy and be happy, you need very, 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 and the most important thing is to throw the television out of the window. And because it's nonsense all the time, all the news and all this fear people get. Do good things, learn great things. The internet is great. You can Google so many things. And very important, I think, is we have to educate ourselves. People don't go only to the practitioner and think that he's going to heal you. Of course, because that's like lottery. The most dangerous things in our time today is to go to the wrong practitioner. It's more dangerous than riding the fastest motorbike you can buy from Japan at the moment, Kawasaki, whatever, driving 300. it's more dangerous going to the wrong practitioner. You have to learn by yourself what heals you and not wait until the symptom comes. And there are many, many great practitioners now. But the internet is, you can find it. And the thing is about heart rate variability, what I think very important is that you don't just take your phone and measure heart rate variability, because you don't make an AKG here. Don't make the heart rate variability here. Take a serious tool. You can buy rings with heart rate variability. These are all funny gadgets, and I think that's nice. But really go and get these gadgets, that's fine. But go deeper into this. Learn about the variability of your heartbeat, the function of the heart, the interaction of the heart to the next one, and the ability to cure you and your surrounding. And it's amazing what you can do. Easy breathing, be active. It's, I think what we do every day is so amazing. It's so simple. And yeah.
And I want to share with people just really quick, when you have a session with Sound the Soul, it's not just this static moment, like Rasmus said, his definition of life is change in motion. And I've always said life is not my kind of colloquial term is life is not we're not stagnant beings. We're ever evolving, ever dynamic beings that are constantly moving and changing and shifting. And my husband and I were talking about it last night in preparation for this interview today, that if you take your picture and look at it from 5 years old, 10 years old, 15, 25, there's some similarities but you constantly change. And to say that you don't change throughout your life is physically is just nuts, because you can change at any point in time and go in any direction that you want. But I lost the train of my thought here. I don't know what I was going to talk about because I got to start thinking about that.
Yeah, well, I just say at the end of the day, well, about the Sound of Soul, how maybe a little bit history.
Well, because they can listen to it afterward. I want them to understand that. It's not just about that moment, that when they leave after the session, you get that sample that we made. And I usually only give them the best sample as far as the one that put them in the most relaxating state. And then they go home and listen to it. Every single night, my son listens to my Sound of Soul or his Sound of Soul when he goes to sleep. Or if I'm away and he misses me, he listens to it, or he listens to his dad. I send mine to my mother. She doesn't understand what she's doing, but she's a musician. She loves music. So she just listens to my heart rate. And I know that it helps her. I know that regardless of her having a diagnosis of Lyme and her watching news all day and all the other things, I know that her listening to my heartbeat heals her at some level because she's connected to me. And it's honestly better than our phone calls for sure.
Well, I think don't stop calling her.
I still call her. I'm just saying it's better than our phone calls.
Well, we have some people now, they started to work with Sound of Soul for couple therapy. Because the interesting thing is what connects people, as I said before, is the heart on a physical term, not only emotionally, spiritually. It's just coherence, electromagnetic field, we connect with each other. Another thing is, normally if you have a problem with your partner, you go to a therapy and you start to make analysis, why maybe she's strange or you are strange or what problem you have, and you start to discuss all this kind of stuff. But you didn't meet your partner in a discussion or in a kind of analysis. You met your partner maybe during dance or during a beautiful time for sure in your life. And Einstein said, wonderful, you cannot solve the problems of this world with the matter which has caused them. Which has separated the people, the couple, is the brain. So if I'm married now, how long? My wife would hit me, but maybe 20 years, 21 years. Of course, you have a lot of problems, ups and downs. But after 20 years, you can say you know so much about, you know everything about her, and she knows everything about him. And then we can say the brain starts to disconnect more and more, because the more you are in the brain, the more we disconnect. The heart connects. So the more you know somebody, actually, the more you disconnect somehow. And that's a very interesting thing. But what connects is the heart. Mm-hmm. And so we have a therapist, couple therapists, the couple who have problems with each other, they come and they listen to both of their hearts. And in so many cases, in most cases, they fall in love again, even if they have been married for centuries. And now another thing also about healing, I just came into my mind. What is every mother doing? You're a mother too.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up. I was going to bring that up earlier. Absolutely.
What is every mother doing when the child is sick? Every mother, no matter if it's in Africa or ever, she starts to put the baby on her heart and she starts to hum.
Mm-hmm.
And why is she doing this? Because she wants to comfort the baby, and intuitionally, I say, she doesn't put the baby on her head. Well, she could put it on her head, no, or put it whatever. She puts it on her heart. Every mother does. If the baby has to burp because it drank too much, you put it on the right side and make like that. But if you want to heal the baby, you put it like this. You have to watch the mothers around the world. And the mother starts to hum. They want to give the baby a comfort. And that's actually the oldest form of music therapy, you can say. That's the mother humming for the baby. And this is actually what we are doing. You could hum, of course, too, in this case, but we just take the heart frequency, change it into sound, and we change it also into light, because light has very special abilities for us. And that's for us the oldest form of therapy all around the world is music
sound.
therapy. Is sound.
Because we generate sound ourselves, and so we can heal with that. And you had said the two things that I think highlight is you cannot escape frequency. Diagnosis is the worst thing on the planet because it plays with people's minds. Everybody does this intuitive.
I would not say diagnosis is the worst. We need to diagnose. It's important to know what we have, but we have to change our understanding. We have to understand that the symptom we have is not our enemy. We have to get rid of it with it, and we have to fight
Embrace
it. Embrace it and let it go by itself and understand why it comes. And I had a lady, she had cancer in her 70s, and she said to me, after 70 years, my body is cheating on me, betrays me. And this is completely like it's her enemy. And I connected her to Sound of Soul, and I wanted to show her how beautiful and unique she is with every heartbeat, and that even in her age, the heart tries to heal her with every heartbeat. And she got better every day. But we had a big problem that in her family, the people said, this is completely nonsense, just chemotherapy, fear, fight. And she went back to the normal treatment. And in 2 weeks, she died. And she treated herself over months, getting better and better. I didn't tell her, don't make the chemotherapy. That's not my area. It's not my field. Right. I just think in many cases, the chemotherapy is too hard because the people the immune system cannot handle this anymore. And this is, if you're young, maybe you can handle it if it's necessary. I think in most cases, there are better ways today. In Israel, amazing healing. There are many different techniques all around the world now. But the most important thing is when you get a very hard diagnosis, you get so afraid. And with fear, when you are afraid, what do you do? If somebody beats you, you try to protect yourself. You make like little balls.
Smaller.
And the same is what the heart rate variability also does. It gets completely small. You get afraid and fear. And then the healing process is very, very difficult. So fear kills us. You see this with this virus now. This fear and everything what happens is much worse. It is much worse. And
just briefly, if we could make a distinction, there's sound therapy. You mentioned the original sound therapy was the mom's heart against the babies, which I think that's very wise. And there's a lot of sound therapy now that's coming out on the market, and it's ringing bowls, it's singing bowls, it's, gongs, it's different things. And I think there's a lot of value in that at some level because like you said, all sound does. But for me, this is customized therapy. You can't get anything better than your own frequency played back to you. Would you agree with that?
That's absolutely the point. Well, I say, I'm from Austria, we're very proud about Mozart and all our history about the sound. And it's always wonderful to hear good music. Use a lot of good music. That's very important. What you like, good music. Important that it's not a music made from a machine, like techno music, because techno music is always the same beat that kills you. That's completely nonsense. It doesn't matter if you hear the Beatles or Elvis Presley or Mozart, hear something nice. But now my point here is that imagine you feel there are for me two very important points why your own music. if you are very sick, you feel very bad, and I say, well, listen to Mozart, listen how beautiful the sound is. You would say, well, Mozart is nice, but you have a big problem. You would say, I'm not very nice, I'm sick. But if I can show, no matter whatever diagnosis you have, how beautiful and unique you are, you can open the doors of healing, that they understand I am beautiful, no matter, even if you are 90 years old and don't look like Brad Pitt anymore. That's fine too. So this is completely understanding. And then there's a second thing, as you said, if you listen external sound, you have to adapt to it. So if I'm playing whatever, you have to adapt to it. And my understanding is that there is nothing better in the whole universe than your own frequency. And if you are exposed to your own frequency, you don't have to adapt to it anymore. You are in resonance already, because that's you. And we have to understand, that's from the first step, that your body always tries to heal you. And that's the whole, these two things, that you understand it's not from outside, it's from you. And the second is that you get entrained, coherent right away. And that's the point. So, but still music therapy is wonderful. So we have, for example, in Brazil, in a clinic, in the cancer clinic, the person with the disease is listening to the sound, his or her own sound, but the practitioner takes an instrument and plays with the instrument, whatever, ukulele or guitar or kalimba, or whatever, and plays with the heart of this patient. So they
wow, that's so cool.
So I don't say don't use music therapy, use any kind of music therapy. But I just think my understanding is that the best is always yourself. And we have the nice fairy tale, you know, mirror, mirror on the wall, or how you say in English. And actually,
who's the fairest of us all. Oh, good fun.
That's yourself.
Right.
And this is what we have to understand. And it's not what we see with our eyes and our brain and says there are gray hairs and there are some wrinkles already. That's just from the conditioned mind. But if you take the most beautiful is the heart, and that's from everybody. And this I think has to come into the medical world. So it's so important now, because if you go to these big hospitals, a butcher has a more handsome place than this terrible hospitals where this is
and that's what the beats that's why this podcast is called The Beats with Kelly Kennedy, because I want people to understand that it's about that heart rate variability, and it's from our heart to yours. We are bringing this heartfelt information out to everybody to make everybody understand and aware that your beat, which is unique, is beautiful. You're beautiful inside. Every part of you is beautiful, and that is your healing capacity. And if you don't know it, please let's connect so you can connect to you, so you can figure it out. And perhaps one day we'll have these in every state and every single office across the nation. And honestly, I think we'll need a lot less doctors when we do that.
Well, but maybe if I may add something, I don't want to replace anything. So the thing is, whatever you get, if you get whatever therapy, it's just like an add-on. So this is the funny thing. When we have now, I just trained, how is this called in English? His specialties he's in Vienna. His back pain, is all kinds of
chiropractor.
Yeah, chiropractor. That's the word. Mm-hmm. And I have no idea about all this. This is not my field. And I said, I'm just translating heart frequency. But he says, well, I think I can work much better with the people if they loosen up, if they relax. And then I said, well, okay, go for it. And then he has a partner, and she's making craniosacral. Maybe you know craniosacral.
Cranial sacral.
Cranial sacral. Mm-hmm. Completely different. And I'm just trained a therapist in Switzerland. And they're from completely different fields. I had a dentist. When you go to a dentist, you're full of fear. It's going to hurt. And instead of reading the newspaper or some fancy, car magazines, you lay there, relaxed, listen to how beautiful your heart is. You come down, and we know the more relaxed you are, the less it hurts. We had a study in Rome where we connected women when they gave birth, and 1/3, it was when the womb was 4 centimeters open, they pressed play and the heart started to play the sound. 1/3 of the women fell asleep, and the pain went down by 70%. Because of course, I joined 4 births with my wife, and when you're of course nervous and fearful, completely
I
contract.
wish I had had Sound of Soul 7 years ago. I wish.
Yes. So actually so we have it from birth control, not birth control, birthplace, how you say, birth centers
A birth
to
center.
to
Mm-hmm.
oncology places. We have partner therapy. We have now this
Psychiatrist office.
yeah. So that's the funny thing is that so different areas, and we have a musician. He's composing with his heart now. He's listening to his sound, and then he starts to write his song. So,
Wow.
because what do you think what Mozart or Beethoven did? They didn't do it by the brain. The brain was, of course, a great tool that they know how to write the notes, but you have to get the intuition from somewhere. And this is, yeah, so it's quite funny things happening. So all kinds of field. Yeah, we have a two teacher working with children. When children have conflict in school,
Mm-hmm.
instead of arguing, discussing, they connect the two kids and they
Wow.
see, oh, how beautiful, no matter if black, white, big, small, wonderful.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's expansive as it allows us to become more expansive. The utilization of Sound of Soul or SOS is very expansive, and there's nobody who doesn't have a heartbeat or no being, because it can be used in the horse world. You know, my colleague Carrie's using it with the horses, and there's so many different avenues to work with this to create harmony. And that's what we want for everybody, is to have heart harmony and coherence in your life. And so, Rasmus, I thank you so much for today. This was a wealth of information for folks. I know that we're going to get a lot of inquiries, and I know we're going to want you back. And I would like to do a breath podcast with you at some point to maybe lend some of your incredible knowledge into the breath and just talking about how to breathe appropriately within, to maximize our own heart rate variability, give people things to do at home. Thank you so much, Rasmus. And thank you all for listening. And please share this video. Hit your notification button so that you know when we're going to be on sharing with you how your body really works. Thank you for joining us for the Beats with Kelly Kenny with my amazing guest and good friend and colleague, Rasmus Gaupp-Bergenhausen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.